Greetings, my name is Turdin, and almighty wheel of content. What nonsense shall I babble about today? Yeah, I can work with that.
Vourukasha.
So about 1 billion million gazillion years ago, you had 3 gods, the Scarlet King, Nabu Malikata, and Rukkhadevata, and they were all the best of friends. Or they were, until the Scarlet King read one too many posts on r/atheism, concluded that gods were officially not kek, and wanted to screw over Celestia, deciding that since they were already going to get a bit heretical anyway, they might as well go balls deep. Nabu and Deshi Boy began doing all sorts of freaky forbidden stuff, which Rukkhadevata was really not down for, so she decided to peace out to literal greener pastures. However, as it turns out, Nabu was also not very chill with this, as she realized going up against Celestia, who were armed with literal actual nukes, mind you, wasn't exactly the cleverest idea in the world. So she decided to take a piece of her essence known as the Kavrena and gifted it to Rukkhadevata. Seeing as how the Kavrena had the ability to purify abyssal jam, one could consider this kind of like handing a good friend of yours some cleaning supplies and a mop before you royally shit yourself. And shit yourself they did, as not long after everything went south in the desert, and what do you know, you suddenly had a whole lot of abyssal goop lying about the place. So in order to aid in the cleanup and ensure that the jam wouldn't get everywhere, seriously, that stuff's sticky, Rukkhadevata shaped the Kavrena into the shape of a big bird known as Simurgh, and had them help keep an eye on any marmites that might try and slither their way in. Which suddenly got even more useful when the dimensional dinner bell rang and you had a whole lot of evil monsters from hell crawling their way up to try and nibble on everyone's neckies. With one of these neckies getting nibbled on, just so happening to belong to the previous Hydro Archon who got killed near Sumeru and had their body just explode into a massive nigh infinite spring of pure water called the Amrita, which, you know, is a pretty useful thing to have. And in order to ensure that the Amrita could continue to exist and to keep her friend sort of around, Rukkhadevata grew a massive tree made of Gatorade called the Harvestpoct. Anyway, she grew this thing, which would keep the previous Hydro Archon's soul anchored to this world, and would ensure that the Amrita could continue to thrive. Cool beans, right? Well, yes, except for the fact that the tree was slowly being corrupted by abyssal goop anyway. So in order to put an end to that, Simurgh threw herself into the Amrita and detonated the Mr. Clean equivalent of a tactical nuke, which purified the waters even more and got rid of any little creepers trying to worm their way in. It also created these little creepers, except they're good. Moral of the story, if you kill a French person, they give you access to infinite water.
Lavawalker.
So there once was this lovely little place called Mare Jivari, an enormous empty pocket of land located in the bumhole of the world where the winds don't blow and there's lava everywhere. As can be expected, such a place isn't exactly a prime holiday destination, and all the people of the world were rightfully a bit creeped out by it. Or that is, all except for one sage, who, upon hearing about this, spoke the words, and I quote, "skill issue," and crafted a circlet that made him immune to fire, which he could just do because he was just built different like that. All his colleagues and superiors reacted about how you'd expect after being called out as a bunch of beta bitches, and told him that, well, if your circlet is so cool and all, why don't you just wear it and walk into Marajivari then? Bet you won't do that, pussy. Upon which the Lavawalker just smiled, put on his crown, and walked into the lava completely unharmed. Not content with merely dunking on his colleagues once, the Lavawalker then proceeded to repeat his little venture for about 100 years, even living in Marajivari for a while and drinking lava martinis just for the giggles. Until one day he got bored, took off his crown and let himself turn to ash with a massive smile on his face, content with the knowledge that his colleagues had created a second Amrita just from their frustrated tears alone. Moral of the story: reject Alpha, embrace Lavawalker.
Blizzard Strayer.
In today's episode of Celestia Are Kind of Cunts, Actually, there was once a beautiful mountain civilization known as Salvindagir. Despite living on and inside of a huge rock, the people here had a pretty swell deal going, running a thriving civilization with a majestic white tree at its heart, which may or may not have been a Wi-Fi router for Erminet, and enjoying plenty of divine blessings from Celestia. Life was popping off so hard that one day this fine gentleman called Lavawalker decided to live there as well, which the mountain folk were down with since he was besties with the princess, and she even gave him a really cool sword for his birthday once. So everyone on the mountain was going about their business and enjoying their life, until one day someone must have accidentally skipped church or something, causing Celestia to get a bit uppity and take a note from the Old Testament, aka nuking the place from orbit. As can be imagined, this already killed everyone's vibe a bit, but Celestia isn't one to minimize suffering, and the massive spike they lodged into the mountain soon began torturing the place in multiple fun and interesting ways, causing the temperature to drop rapidly and everything to slowly become the massive frozen hellhole we know it as today. Remembering that cold is bad for humans, and if they get too cold, they die, Lavawalker swore to run to the nearby electronics store to buy a portable heater for his mates to use. Unfortunately, the people in front of him at the checkout must have been trying to pay with change or something, because he was gone for quite a while and things only got worse back home. The situation eventually got so bad that the jazzy white tree was starting to freeze as well and began messing up everyone's Wi-Fi connections. Realizing the true anarchy that would erupt if her people couldn't log into their RuneScape accounts, the princess quickly took a small branch of the tree and tried to plant it somewhere she deemed safe in order to hopefully grow a new tree. And when I say safe, I mean in a massive blizzard. So, you know, imagine how that went. With his princess dead and the remaining population having killed each other over being unable to play their favorite old school MMO, the last remaining survivor of Salvindagir used his last moments to basically write hate mail to Celestia for burgering everything up and to Lavawalker for taking so long at the store. Not long after, the main man himself finally returned, big smile on his face and heater in hand, only to discover that everyone was dead, understandably got a bit pissy about it, and decided that since Celestia clearly enjoyed messing with people for giggles, he'd go out into the world and give them one hell of a show. Which he did. Probably. Maybe. No one knows where he went or what he did after all this. Except for that he must have had a kid at some point, because the Lavawalker clan was one of the founding clans of Mondstadt. Or they were, before they engaged in the old family tradition of disappearing without a trace somewhere down the line. It's weird. Moral of the story: go to church or Big G will literally come to your house and murder your family.